Welcome to the RV Small Talk podcast, where we talk about lightweight trailers, truck campers, the people, places, and adventures that go right along with them. We got a little bit of a change up today. That's why I did the intro early. But we have one of our bestest friends, Avery Tomasco from CBS Austin.
Howdy.
He's a meteorologist, and we have big questions as to why is it so dadgum hot in Central Texas. So before we get into that, don't forget you can check out show notes at rvsmalltalk.com. You can check out social media, RV Small Talk Podcast, even on YouTube. If you want to see what Avery's face looks like this week, check out our video on YouTube. Woohoo! Okay, so I digress. I don't want to spend too much more time. I want to say, hey, welcome back. It's been much longer than I thought.
Thank you. As we were speaking before you hit record, this studio is insane. It's bigger. We got a TV. We got a camera.
Yeah.
We have your same beautiful faces. It's an absolute pleasure to be back with you. The same beautiful faces, not insane.
We're like the clown posse.
Yes. 2 years.
We didn't get to introduce ourselves, so maybe we have clown names.
We didn't introduce ourselves, and also, can you turn my headphones down a little bit?
Turn them down?
I'm getting some
But I have to get out of the camera shot.
sensory overload. I'm sorry, it's just too loud.
Is it my silky voice?
No, it's Clint's laugh, which I don't hear very often.
A wee bit abrasive.
But
Better?
because you're here, he's all joyous.
That's right.
Clinton and I,
We're like
cut
brothers
from the
from
same
another
cloth.
mother.
Absolutely.
we
Yeah.
also talked about this last time.
And it's still true.
It's the goofiness that attracts.
It's plutonic, I assure you. But
Plutonic.
Plutog.
Is that like Pluto?
it's not platonic.
Pla.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
All right,
Back
enough
up here.
platitudes.
It's platonic.
Okay, so before we start throwing dad jokes and puns precipitously, let's move forward with
Precipitously.
One.
Precipitation.
No,
Great segue. As you were.
so when I reached out to you before I dropped off the map, and then reached out and then dropped off the map again, it was because we were teetering at going into this El Nino pattern. And we all have these ideas of El Nino. Such a good little boy.
Yes.
I mean, brings us cooler weather, more breeze, more rain. And here we are with today's, your post today was
insulting.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
It was offensive.
hard to look at. Disrespectful.
so with,
I didn't see it.
well,
You're not missing out on anything you don't already
you
know.
follow-
It's hot and it's going to stay hot.
Do you follow meteorologist Avery Tomasco on Facebook?
You're missing out on some really crude humor.
Yeah, you
Also,
know,
some Creed humor. Because that was funny.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so yes, but then you have to actually look at Facebook
That's
to
true.
see what you
you
posted.
got to
And
accept him
that's
with
what I
arms
don't
wide
do.
open.
That's what I don't do. So
I know.
what was it? What was it today?
It's going to be hot.
The
It's gonna be a
post,
long time.
the post was, it's really hot. You're going to have a bad time, and then copy and paste for 2 weeks.
Yes. Okay, so obviously we're an RV podcast, and
Yes.
and we all looked this spring, hopefully, and it's not what we're experiencing. Can you just give us a bit of your education?
El Nino.
But can
Yes.
can you start
Yes.
with like what it is for people like me who have no idea?
Okay, let's start with the chaos that has been the last 3 years.
Okay, I'm
which
ready.
has been under the influence of not the boy, but the girl.
That.
La Nina.
Yeah, she plays with your emotions.
Yes. So this is all part of the El Nino Southern Oscillation. So it's a patternless fluctuation between two extremes, cold and hot, of sea surface temperatures way down there in the equatorial Pacific. So even though that's happening far away, it has what we call satellite effects all across the globe. La Nina is cooler sea surface temperatures in the equatorial Pacific Ocean. For us, that makes us hotter and drier than average. And boy, have we had that.
Yes.
Basically, the last 3 years have been hot in the summer, but we've also had these extreme cold snaps. But even with those big cold snaps, we've stayed hotter and drier than average, which is why we're in a bad drought, which is why there's no water in the lakes, whole 9 yards. So now we're in El Nino. And to your point, everyone was kind of excited about it, right? El Nino usually means the opposite. We're usually a little bit cooler. We're usually a little bit wetter. Unfortunately, El Nino has come too late as far as our summer is concerned in our spring. So we did get a little bit of benefit like in May. We had some nice storms. They weren't all that bad. We had some nice rainfall, like for the first time in a long time. The problem is that El Nino is only our friend during the fall, winter, and spring. summer is a lawless playground for the hellscape that is summer in Texas.
Yes.
So El Nino doesn't have much of an impact, which is a bummer.
Yeah, sugarcoat it next time, okay?
It's sometimes hot. It's not that bad. It's just
It's a
Texas.
little warm. So, do these things El Nino and La Nina
Yes.
affect the whole country or just Texas?
Oh yeah, it affects
In
the
the
whole
same
world.
way?
So one of the big headlines you may have seen recently, I don't know how big y'all are into following news headlines, is that we've had like 4 or 5 days in a row last week of it's the planet's hottest day ever. Okay, it's the planet's hottest day ever again. Okay, well, here was a new day. It's the hottest day ever for the world.
Right.
Because El Nino is the opposite of La Nina, where the sea surface temperatures in the equatorial Pacific are warmer.
Right.
And they've been warming up like crazy. So that on its own is adding more fuel to the fire that is a warming
Does that
planet.
mean more humidity generated from that area and blowing around? Does that mean, in La Nina, are there storms out at sea and not coming inland, but El Nino, the storms are generated?
Are you referring to like our neck of the woods, Atlantic storms, or are you talking about equatorial Pacific storms?
Equatorial Pacific storms and how... Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going way too big a scope.
Boiling it down, the warmer sea surface temperatures throws everything into whack in the equatorial Pacific. So when everything is that hot in the sea surface temperatures, it changes the circulations around the equator. Mm-hmm. It changes the way the jet stream behaves in our neck of the woods. It changes the way that storms do or don't form in the tropics, like hurricanes for our neck of the woods. It changes everything. For us, it's usually beneficial, though, because El Nino means there's more wind shear, meaning winds are changing speed and direction with height in the Atlantic. So storms don't like that. Tropical storms or hurricanes become a little bit less likely.
It protects us a little bit?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
It can. Generally, when El Nino is in effect, we have fewer hurricanes. And in the fall and winter, it usually means we're cooler, we're wetter. It also usually means we flood like crazy.
Yes.
The famous saying in Texas is that Texas is in a constant state of drought, periodically interrupted by the catastrophic flood.
Yes.
Which
This is
kind of tracks, right?
Yes, it does.
That's true.
So, for the RVers in Texas, oftentimes in the summertime, they're already heading to higher altitude and higher latitude and whatnot. So, we can certainly come back to Texas, but even our Texan campers and our listeners are all over the place. What does this mean for the East Coast, the Midwest, and the West Coast? Different parts of the country.
Everything else besides Texas.
Great question. So, caveat. I love Texas. I focus on Texas weather. So that's my bread and butter as far as the rest of the country goes.
My butter's melted.
My butter is boiled away.
Your bread is toasted.
Yeah, it's in the atmosphere somewhere.
Yep.
For the rest of the country, for RVers escaping Texas, which all the power to you. Get out of here. I wish I could.
Get out.
Duty calls.
It's not as big of an impact, El Nino, across the rest of the country as it is across the southern U.S. During the summer, though, as I mentioned, it really doesn't matter because El Nino's effects are more prominent in the fall, winter, and the spring. So everyone trying to escape Texas in the summer, you're finding probably still some warm weather no matter where you go, especially this week. Everywhere's kind of toasty, unless you're like going to the Arctic Circle, and that's a drive. But
yes.
It's hard to get a trailer there.
Yeah.
I heard the camping's not so good.
I'm going to try it
You would.
someday.
Yeah.
Going
you
to the
would.
Arctic Circle,
Why not?
I would love to. Oh,
Why?
gosh. Yes.
What would you do?
Let's talk about ice.
You may
Let's
not
talk
remember
about
this from
ice.
2 years ago. I love winter. Winter is my favorite. The winter weather, winter temperatures. It's so much easier. And here's a big reason why. If you're hot, if your body is hot, if you're outside and you're sweating, it's harder to cool yourself off in this world. But if you're cold, you put on a jacket. Now you're warm. Right, you can't take off more layers when it's so hot outside. So that's why I love winter. It's easier to stay comfortable in the winter, and it's less expensive too. Because I feel like I'm spending so much money just keeping my house cool right now.
Right. It's got to be livable for the baby.
See, I
the baby demands it.
disagree with you.
Oh,
Whoa.
Round one, go.
I'm gonna flip this table.
Not if I do it first.
Say your piece.
Hey, my tables, y'all.
I feel the opposite because when you're cold, you have to cover everything up. I mean, the things that are cold are my toes, my fingers, my nose, my ears.
Yeah.
Okay, so what am I supposed to do?
But that's easily fixable. You add a layer, and then you're more comfortable,
to my
right?
nose, to my ears.
Yeah, if you have to. You got
my
earmuffs.
fingers?
There are things that you can buy that make your life better when it's cold.
But if you're hot, I mean, never mind. I don't want to say that.
No.
If you're hot, all you have to do is go outside and turn on your garden hose and put it over your head for a second.
What if you don't have a garden hose?
And then it feels really good.
What if you don't have a garden
your
hose?
friends
What if you
spit
don't
on
have
you?
a coat?
What if I didn't have a coat?
I mean, honestly.
Yeah, like how? Wait, you can't say what if you? I mean, you have access to water.
Right.
It instantly cools you down, and it's so much easier.
But then you're wet.
Yeah, it's amazing.
If you don't want to be wet, then
This
you're
is the table
inconvenienced.
flipping moment.
Okay. I'm going to say to each their own.
Yes. Don't yuck someone's yum.
Don't yuck someone's yum. Your yum sounds great. I think my yum is just as great.
And I respect that.
Thank you. I
wrong.
respect your incorrect decision.
This has been a good thing, you two.
I'm glad you expanded the studio. We can move a couple of these tables and just wrestle
hash
it
it
out.
out.
We can
Indian leg
just
wrestle.
settle our transgressions the old-fashioned way.
Anyway.
Well, if we're talking about RVers, though,
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is RVers come south. I mean, winter Texans, that's a real thing. And it happens all across the South because guess what? They don't like the cold and they hate the snow. So you may want to take a trip to the Arctic Circle, but you probably don't want to live there.
Right.
And you
Or
don't want to shovel the snow and deal with the slush for months on end.
But to be fair, the winter RVers also don't want to live here. That's why they RV here and have a house
Elsewhere.
and then they escape when it becomes hellish in the summer.
God,
right?
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. Follow the seasons.
I have a question.
Go on.
Okay,
Do
I don't
tell.
even know if you'll know the answer to this, but you totally know the answer to this.
Uh-oh.
Where is a place that has 4 seasons that I can go live?
There's
Right
isn't
here.
that a hotel chain?
No, not
No, we
here.
do. We get 4 seasons here,
No.
but summer is 8 months. we get fall for 1 to maybe 2 days, and then spring for a couple days, and then winter is anyone's guess. But we get all 4 seasons. It's just not
Okay.
Nobody's buying that
evenly dispersed.
No one buys
dispersed. 4 seasons. Literally anywhere else. If you go
Really?
Yeah.
above,
I
like
don't know places.
Kansas or farther north, I say you get
Kansas? I could live in
reliably
Kansas.
4 seasons.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Kansas, yeah, it's flat everywhere.
And what I love about these mythical 4-season
I know.
places
I don't know what that's like.
It really is about 3.5, 4 months of each.
Of
So
each.
you're just wearing out on one.
Those lucky
and
ducks.
the next one arrives, and it's glorious. It's like a postcard every 4
And
months.
it's a smooth transition. Like there's
Yeah.
no drama. For us, we go from like hellscape summer to winter with one cold front. We've done that before.
And
Like,
then back to
And
summer
then back
sometimes.
to summer for a little
yeah,
while.
what was it? It was like last year we had in Austin the biggest 24-hour temperature drop in the city's history. I think it was like we had a high temperature of near 90 one day, and then a high temperature 24 hours later of 32.
Right.
The biggest drop ever.
Right.
So that's what we get in Texas. Everywhere else is kind of it's a little lazier. You get to enjoy the transitions a little bit. We're not lucky.
Right. And chances are we were from that 32, we were back in the 80s within 72 hours. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just,
so that temperature drop came with like a little ice storm.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
A little ice
Of course.
storm.
It was actually a little one before the big one this year.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think this was
Okay.
I think it was last year. Either late last year or early last year, I forget what the big cold front was, but it was like a little ice storm, like that much ice, but of course everyone got into bumper car mode and there were crashes all over the place. Then we had the big ice storm, which we can talk about later. That was
Do we have
this
to?
year. We probably don't want to bring up that trauma again.
Do we have to?
That was like 2021 all over again.
well, I kind of felt like everybody up north was just laughing at us.
Well, yeah, they
do.
They do.
Just laughing at us.
But they laugh at us in the cold the same way we laugh at them in the heat. Like there'll be some headline: North Dakota hits 95 degrees, heat wave intensifies. We're like, 95 degrees?
Right.
Are you kidding? We've been baking at 105 for 3-4 months.
Right.
You yuppies.
But when you step back from it, you're like, well, it's because they aren't equipped or prepared. We're not equipped.
Vice
for
versa.
They
the
can get
cold.
naked just like anybody
Correct.
else
But their houses-
and put a garden hose over their head.
They don't have
I
Barton
said
Springs.
nothing about getting naked.
You insinuated it.
But a lot of their houses
It's a great
may
idea.
not have air conditioning.
Right.
And so it's because they're from a equipment standpoint, infrastructure standpoint, just the same as we can't handle cold.
Right.
They can't handle.
Well, RVers follow the weather. That's what we do.
You have to.
We camp at the times that it makes sense for us, and we travel to places that have better weather.
Yeah.
Right? More moderate weather, usually.
I follow the mosquitoes.
Usually, yeah.
the mosquitoes are everywhere.
we're in Texas, they follow you, so it really doesn't
That's why I
matter.
stay put.
They hunt you. In
It
Texas.
doesn't matter. Yeah, there's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Well,
But
sorry, go ahead.
I did have a question.
Okay.
I may have lost it. I may need to drink more coffee.
Less coffee?
Uh-oh.
Or less
Coffee
coffee.
with
Find
less
it.
oil slicks
That's
in
okay.
it?
We'll
Find
pause
it.
for station identification.
Do you know what station we're on? Honestly?
CBS Austin.
Nice one.
Got to make the boss happy.
If you guys don't follow Avery Tomasco on Facebook, just so you know, we were talking about mosquitoes, and one of my favorite things that he does is the
Mosquito meter.
skeeter meter,
The skeeter meter, yeah.
where he tells
by
you.
There's science behind it.
By popular demand, it was mosquito meter, and everyone's like, no, you got to do skeeter meter.
Yeah, what
Abbreviate
is
it.
a mosquito meter?
Nobody knows. The skeeter meter is actually scientific. I was like, I need,
know.
and it works.
Yeah.
Like if temperature's less than 60, you're not getting swarmed. If it's less than 50, you're not getting bit.
So it has
It's
like
beautiful.
a little graph that shows like when the skeeters are out. I used to live in South Austin, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
And we couldn't go outside. And I remember taking my baby outside and like wrapping her in like mosquito netting just to like take
Yeah.
her outside.
They probably still got in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But just so y'all know, I live in Hutto now. I haven't gotten bit by a mosquito at my house in 4 years.
I have a
since I've lived
theory
there.
on that one. It's because it's flat cornfields.
I'm not
and the
near any
wind
water.
is constant.
There's a ton of wind. It's
There's no water,
It's wonderful.
Man.
Not in 4 years have I gotten
So that's
bit
a
by a
secret.
mosquito.
I
See-
thought that
House.
gas station downtown smelled so bad, kept all the mosquitoes away.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a theory.
What just happened? So
Did you remember your question yet? Because I was just trying to stall for you.
So I'm going to lean on PJ. I'm going to lean on PJ's expertise here. If you're in an area that is so prone to wicked, rapid weather changes like we are, it presents problems for, let's say, the fair weather RVer that follows the nice weather. Well, a place like Texas, where it can go from 90 to 32, and it can do this rapidly and several times. What does this mean for the RVer traveling in our neck of the woods? And what do they do about it?
Vigilance.
Get out, like Avery
Just say
said.
drive
Information.
north.
No. They're here for our 80-degree winter. It's 80 degrees. That's what they came for. And that's what they expect. Maybe it's their first year. They're trying it out. 80 degrees, they're doing fine. And then in their time here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cold snaps. And so what do? I mean, obviously we have water systems. We have tires. So if they are changing campgrounds and all that, what do they need to be on the lookout for with these crazy weather swings?
You know, the biggest thing is first of all, you have to realize if you come to Texas to avoid any type of severe cold weather,
It can still happen.
You just made a mistake.
Yeah. You might have
Because-
made a mistake.
I mean, it snowed at Big Bend this year.
The Tourist Bureau is so thankful for that information.
I know.
It snows at Big Bend more often than you would think.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yes.
Why?
Like
Just
every year?
Briefly, we'll come back to the RV
Sure,
question,
sure.
but
Mountains.
the
Higher terrain.
mountains-
Closer proximity to Pacific moisture. Because that's oftentimes how we get snow is moisture coming in from the Pacific on top of like cold air at the surface. So that combination is a bit more likely through the farther west and northwest you go, closer to the Rockies, which is qualifies
Bend.
as Big Bend. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have the Davis Mountains down there. So you're telling me that it is more likely to snow in Big Bend because of the Pacific moisture and the mountains than it is here?
In general, yeah. So a lot of times
Who knew?
we'll have like a
I did.
This nerd.
because he
Nerd
follows
1, Nerd 2.
because Clint follows me on Facebook. See, you're missing out. You got to get on the book face every now and then. You'll learn something. But yeah, in general, like you can get the higher elevation you are, the more likely you are to get snow. I think
I did know that.
Pretty common sense.
I knew that one.
So like while it's snowing in Big Bend, it may be snowing above our heads here in Austin, but then it all kind of gets zapped by drier air, warmer air closer to the surface.
That is crazy to think about.
It does.
That it's snowing in space above us. Mm-hmm. But then
A lot of the times it is, especially in the fall and even in the spring. It'll be snowing above our heads, but then that all turns into rain.
How high do I need to build this tower?
yeah,
Really
how
high.
powerful does my
Because
do
my
my
son
binoculars need to
We're
be?
talking 10,000 foot tall tower. There's no building that's 10,000 feet tall. Sorry.
I would just want to see it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You can fly high enough though.
There's
Yeah, but at that altitude, you need oxygen. Yeah.
It's a recommendation. A little less oxygen makes it a little more fun, in my opinion.
Okay, Avery is not an astronaut, guys. He's a weatherman.
Are you sure?
He's a space cadet.
I would go to space if I could.
Well, that's another crazy place he would go. Your take, Lindsay.
I'll go everywhere.
the Arctic Circle and space.
Yes.
It's probably cold in space, though, right?
Oh yeah, it's extremely cold because there's nothing there.
Is there weather in space?
Yeah, there's space weather.
Shut up.
Yeah, that's a whole different ball of wax. Yeah.
This is not an RV
Solar
show anymore.
storms?
Solar storms, radiation, waves of it.
Yep. Ionosphere, the whole 9 yards.
They say that space has a smell.
Does it?
They say it does, and I forget what they mentioned that it is. I'll have to look it up.
Pickles.
It might be pickles. It might be feet.
Who died smelling space?
I don't know. I have to look it up.
Because I feel like you don't survive attempting to smell outer space. Because that.
Oh yeah, you'd have to like smell it and then like write it down real quick and then die and then
Yeah.
hope somebody gets your message
God, we
in a
are
bottle.
really going off the beaten path
What is
here.
this
But
podcast
this
about?
It's an important
PJ,
theoretical question.
PJ, please rescue us.
Help!
RVers in Texas, cold snaps,
We're
weather
in
avoidance.
space.
I
2
need
years.
to make this quick.
2
because
years
it's-
have passed, and we're doing the exact same thing we did last time, which is just utter conversational chaos.
It's the same episode.
I remember talking about how do you see weather coming and predict it. We actually talked a few minutes about weather last time.
Yeah.
We did
But-
this time too.
We did.
Now we're done.
I would like to be useful to your viewing audience.
You're useful to me.
If they don't like it, they can push stop or next or
So if it drops down to 32 or below quickly overnight, I know, forget segues. They are way too much trouble. So then it comes right back up. Just keep your furnace on and you're fine. We've talked about this. But if it's going to, sometimes in Texas, you don't know. It gets cold, stays for 3 days, stays for a week, it's icy. Then you need to drain the water out of your tanks, leave your furnace on, open your cabinet doors, get some bottled water, keep it inside with you, and pour some antifreeze down all of the P-traps
Right.
and the drains and in your toilet.
Now I have a question.
Yes.
In general, I'm big on efficiency, and I hate my house. I love my house, but I hate my house because I feel like it's bleeding money into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
At all hours of the day. Every little crack is like another $1 of AC costs
You're
going out
such
the
a
window.
dad.
I am
Oh, you're-
big time dad.
He's going to be
Hey, close that door. What are you doing trying to air condition the whole neighborhood?
Turns off light switches like crazy.
So
And
my
it
question
just
is,
gets worse as you
my
get older.
wife hates me
Oh,
because
my
she will like for like 10 microseconds leave the back door open to go get something outside because a daughter left something outside. And I'm like, close the door. And she's like, Avery, stop it.
just wait until your daughter
just-
is
and he
tall
turns off the porch
enough
light.
5 seconds.
tall enough to reach the light switches because
Oh, I
kids
know.
leave
Oh,
everything.
she's
on.
already obsessed with light switches. She's obsessed, and I'm trying to teach her. No, off is better.
Good luck with that.
She'll
Back
learn
to your
eventually.
question.
My question is, in general, how efficient is an RV, especially like a modern RV, be it a camper, trailer, or a dedicated motorhome? How efficient are they? Like well insulated? Like if there's a big cold snap outside, is your RV instantly getting cold too?
Well, it probably depends on how long you leave the door open.
If
Yeah.
you're just inside.
That depends on the RV.
Okay.
And it's funny because we were talking earlier about like, you know, people getting mad at social media and it making it go up more. All of our social media is, that's so expensive. Why would you pay that much? I can get a fifth wheel for that price.
Materials and construction.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like anything else. There's trailers and then there's trailers for weather.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it depends on the quality of what you're buying. In general, like a stick and tin, it's hard for the AC to do anything below 80 when it's 100 degrees outside. I mean, it just won't happen.
Well,
It won't
ACs and
happen.
air conditioners are designed to have a 20-degree differential.
Right.
Which means if it's 105 outside and you get your trailer to 85, you have 85 temperature air coming out of that air conditioner. Then it
You look
is
disgusted.
performing to
Can't
spec.
sleep.
And that's in perfect conditions. That does not mean
Yes.
you're operating in high humidity. I mean, there's a lot of things. Now, Avery, from where you're sitting, you can see a few trailers. Some
These
of
are
them-
not the trailers we're talking
Right.
about.
Okay.
That one has dual pane windows with the gas filled barrier.
That one?
into
This
that
one.
So there's a lot of residential technology that goes into these that's really good.
Insulation and really good sealing. I mean, like the little teardrops and stuff like that, even some that are a little bit bigger. I mean, I've been camping in the summer in mine and it's 22 feet and I freeze.
Yep.
Like the AC is way too cold.
Okay.
Even when it's 100 degrees outside.
Now we're
So,
talking.
I mean, it really depends on what you're buying. Are you buying a cheap family weekend getaway a few weekends, or are
They're
you
not
buying
cheap. They're just entry level.
Yes,
Entry
you're
level.
right. I'm
That's
so
very
sorry.
PC of you. Entry level. Yes,
So if
everyone's
I-
included.
If I may, also the way you're looking at them, they're above the ground. There's not a foundation. They're a little bit closer to a pier and beam style house. Okay. So there's airflow underneath. So there's things that you have to just keep in mind. What is this actually capable of? First, the build. And the engineering and the build and the materials, how well is it constructed? That's going to go a long ways. But then you go, but it's an open air box sitting above the ground by almost a foot.
Yeah. You're at the mercy of what's around you.
But what
That makes
RVs
sense.
are really good at is moving air inside. Almost everything is made with a high-powered fan in the top, like an old attic fan that they used to put in all the houses. And so you crack the windows, you turn on that high-powered fan, you get a nice circulation of air. So
you douse yourself with a garden hose?
then go
Get
sit
all
inside.
wet. You have to
and
dry
get that
yourself
fan
off.
going.
No. Don't
a
dry
mess.
yourself off. Then you get hot again. Just
But
stay
your
wet.
clothes are wet.
I'm taking y'all back to the counselor.
We need to go to jail at this point.
I hear it's really cold in jail. I'm
Really?
out.
No, in Texas they don't.
Oh, that's
they don't
true.
even air condition the jails in
That's-
Texas.
that's so
a whole
sad.
other different topic. It's a different
Oh,
headline.
that is just horrifying.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Horrifying. So I don't know. That's a good question, and it depends on the RV
'Cause
as
that-
far as how cool or how hot it's going to get.
That aspect really attracts me to the RV life. Having a smaller space that's cheaper to keep cool or hot, that's well insulated.
Future full timer?
Yeah, you just want to live in an RV right now?
It's been 2 years, but I've aged 30 years since we last spoke. My daughter's in college. I'm ready to hit the road with my solar panel RV.
All right, so where
very
are we
attractive.
sending you? Where, if we were, say, Avery, with your whatever window of time you might have on the radar, where would we be sending you and your family?
Cold, but not too cold.
Okay,
Got any place in
weatherman.
mind?
Where is that?
Well, so I drive a Prius, so I'm not off-road inclined.
Okay.
I don't even know if I were to buy an off-road or like a towing car. I don't think it would be big and beefy, something that would
Yeah.
be worthy of going through snow and slush
That would
and whatever.
require fuel.
So
He doesn't want to buy fuel.
I'm gonna say we're in the neighborhood of like why can't I think of it? National Park, Wyoming, Montana area. Where is it?
What,
Yosemite?
Yellowstone?
Yeah, Yellowstone.
think so?
Absolutely. Sign me up for Yellowstone.
So
like
you
early
like
fall.
crowds of people.
I like
And taking selfies with buffalo.
I like scenery, and if I were to go to Yellowstone, I would do research to find when are the fewest number of people there.
We have apps for that, by the
Okay.
way.
Do you?
You let us know.
That's awesome. Okay, because I'm already planning my trip to Disney World with my 2-year-old almost.
Oh man, yes.
We're not actually planning it, but when we do plan it, I'm gonna search when are the fewest number of people there.
Right.
I hate crowds.
Really?
Yeah,
I hate crowds. I can't do people. I can't do lines. Like if
You don't seem
there's
like that kind of person.
That's another thing my wife has a pet peeve with me for, because if we're going to a restaurant and we don't have reservations or anything and the line's just out the door,
You're done.
You're done.
let's go to Taco Bell. Let's go. We don't need to wait for food.
That's right.
It can't be that good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of
Again,
agree with you there.
We're digressing. So anyway, if I were to RV, I would go somewhere cool and preferably with a few people.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Arctic Circle, I hear, is nice.
Oh yeah, it's barren.
Not very many people.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to find a 7-Eleven up there, unfortunately.
It's cool.
You got to pack all your snacks.
Yeah, but you get to choose your snacks.
Yeah, it's true.
And wear a coat.
You're off the trail for a while up there. Oh, I got to know if there's actually a campsite in the Arctic Circle somewhere.
It's all available. Go for it. You're floating on
I'm
something.
planning
but-
my
The whole
future
thing
trip.
is a camp spot.
Yeah.
I bet we have some listeners who could tell us.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
We have a lot of people who've been to Alaska with their campers.
That would be cool. That's on the bucket list, is an Alaska trip or an Alaska cruise or something Alaska.
That's where my parents are going this weekend. Alaska
Lucky
cruise.
them. The weather's great up there right now. The mosquitoes are ginormous.
I told them.
Yeah.
So do you watch I guess, of course you do. It's a dumb question.
Well, ask
Well,
me,
you have
'cause
to.
I want to hear it.
You already are halfway there.
Do you
Yeah.
just like watch and know the weather for the whole country?
More
do
or
you
less.
watch the whole world?
No.
Where's your scope?
Anywhere in the U.S. is usually going to be pertinent to us.
So do you know what's happening in North Dakota today?
Not today, because there's nothing happening in North Dakota that's going to
Ever?
impact us.
Oh, okay.
So like if there's, a big cold front coming that's going to, shake and rattle Texas, then I'm going to look, a couple days in advance up to North Dakota and say, hey, look how cold it is up there in the boonies
Right.
of North Dakota. That's coming our direction. So then I will know what's going on in North Dakota
Yeah,
or Canada, or if there's, a Pacific hurricane that's about to send a lot of moisture into Texas, then I know what's going on with that hurricane. I don't know what's going on in Asia or Europe unless it's like a big deal headline.
Like a dust storm coming over.
Yeah. Saharan dust from Africa, that's going to be a headline in the next few days.
Great sunsets.
Better sunsets, yeah, more colorful.
Dirty cars.
Dirty cars. My
Man.
car is already dirty.
Yes.
And I'm out of windshield wiper fluid. Like, it only get it refilled whenever I get my oil changed.
Well,
and
it's a
I never
Prius, and
drive.
that lowers your gas mileage with the added weight.
Yeah. Precisely.
But you got to pair that up with the fact that with more grit on your car, you actually have more wind resistance. You got to balance that out.
Yeah, so what Clint is saying is that my MPGs are going down. That's bad.
Yeah.
Too much weight.
Yeah.
Too much filth.
So I have got a question totally related to what you just said. Not at all.
Okay. Classic.
I'm going to say a name, and I want your immediate response. Al Roker.
Wait, why? What? I don't get it.
I don't either. I just wanted to ask a question.
I have opinions.
You have opinions on
He's
Al
a
Roker?
Great guy. He's a great guy.
Is he a meteorologist?
No.
Okay, well then why do we...
He's a weather guy.
Yeah, he's a meteorologist by
weatherman.
practice. At some point, you do the weather enough, you're probably really good at it. Probably better than most people with an actual meteorology degree. But as far as I know, he doesn't have a meteorology degree.
Do you have a degree?
Yes.
Oh, so you're better than Al Roker.
No, I'm
Okay,
not.
okay.
Everyone's
I'm
good
so
at their own thing. What was your saying? Don't yuck their ick.
Don't yuck someone's yum.
Yeah. So I'm not
Does
going to
that
yuck
apply to college degrees?
Yeah, it does. Listen, I'm a firm believer that if you do anything long enough, you can become an expert in it,
Yes.
even without formal training.
Yes.
So in that regard, good
So
job,
what is-
Al Roker.
What is he good at?
He's a great personality.
He's a great personality. Man, he's a conversationalist. Obviously, he's like America's dad. Everyone, it's hard to be mad at Al Roker for anything that he says. So
But don't
for that,
watch the weather?
you can watch the weather. Just know that, like, I mean, this is a symptom of any nationally based meteorologist. Like, you're not going to know the intricacies of Austin weather if you're making a forecast
Sure.
for the whole country
Sure.
out of New York.
Right. It's generalized.
It's much more generalized. The deep south is going to be hot today. The northeast is going to get rain today.
Right.
There's a flood threat in the mountains of California. I mean, it's very general. It's very
And he
broad
spends
brush.
a lot of time just making the general stuff easy to digest, easy to understand. But he's probably got a team of people at this point that feeds him.
A lot of behind the scenes graphics production and actual forecasting.
Whereas you
Who does your
sir,
graphics?
Me, myself, and I. Yes, I pride myself in.
Are you an active Canva user?
What the
do you
heck
have
is
the Pro?
Canva?
How do you make all your graphics?
Specialty weather software that's designed for what I do.
Really? That's how you make your Creed.
Oh yeah,
GIFs?
all of my crazy memes and stuff. It's usually made through the same weather graphics system. So we're really getting our money's worth, and that software is doing things that it was never designed to do.
I was gonna say, it's doing gymnastics
So
for you.
funny.
It is. Yeah, it gets a workout every morning. I made something stupid this morning. The meme that's like, why can't you just be normal? Screams.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
saw that.
Yeah. So if you're watching this after the fact, go back to what's today, July the 12th, and look at my meme. You'll know exactly what I'm talking
There it
about
is.
because Texas is being not normal.
Bad Texas.
And again, if you don't follow him, the other thing I like about you is
Tell me more.
Please butter my
There's
biscuit.
two things.
no, the only thing I like about you
One thing. That's better than most.
is you. Whenever there's some kind of extreme thing happening, whether it's like, is this another ice storm, or is it going to flood, or power's out, or whatever kind of chaos is happening in Texas, you are the only person on social media that I see that's saying, chill out. Chill out. It's
Yeah.
not
Pump the brakes.
this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And this might happen, but most likely just this is going to happen. So everybody chill out.
Yeah.
It's not like fear mongering. So it's really cool to keep up with you during extreme events.
Well, thank
'cause
you.
It makes me feel like the
A
world's
little
not
more,
ending.
little more sane.
Wait. It seems like someone else agreed with you on that. What was that? You won something.
Oh,
What was that?
an Emmy?
Yes.
I've got a couple of those. Two. I have two.
That is a couple.
I'm done with two because now they're balanced on either side of the bookshelf.
Yeah.
Just one, it's like, where do you put the thing? No. So Emmys are great. It's like validation that I'm doing something right. But thank you. Y'all are really
get it?
buttering me up.
Do you get an Emmy for being right? I mean, what? Or just being a good personality? Do you get an Emmy for
So for
driving a Prius?
my entries, no one gets an award for driving a Prius. Participation ribbon, if you're lucky, for driving a Prius. So for stuff like that, like I will submit into the proper category, which is like weathercast. The stuff that I think I communicated the best, that's especially true when the weather is chaotic. Like you said,
Yeah.
when there's so many different plausible outcomes, and I try to kind of boil it down and say, here's what's most likely. You need to do this, this, and that to prepare. There's a lot that goes into kind of planning those forecasts and planning how I'm going to convey that message. So those are the ones I'm most proud of and the ones that I think do best in the awards show landscape. But to your point, yeah, it's easy to really hype up Central Texas weather because it is crazy. It's easy to get some of those clicks and some of that traction and
Drama.
social media, whatever from it.
Yep.
And in very rare cases, it is warranted. The last time I really was hyping something up was February 2021. And it was kind of the opposite at that point because there were other sources of information that were saying, oh, it's going to be fun. You can go play in the snow with your kids and, it'll be light, fluffy snow. I'm like, no. There's going to be blackouts. You're going to have a bad time. I literally, I thought I was going crazy because I was like, I don't see this going any
Right.
other way than it being an utter catastrophe. And of course it was. But I was like going back and forth in my head. I was like, am I going crazy saying some of
Because
the
no one
things
else
I'm
is
saying
speaking
right
the
now?
same way.
No one had the same kind of rhetoric. that I had, and even my wife at one point, I remember the forecast leading up to February 2021. It was a Saturday, 6:00 newscast. She could see like the emotion on my face, and she was like, "Hey, like I know you're worried about this, but like pump the brakes, calm it down." And I was like, "Okay, you're right." Like it was that kind of emotion for me because I was like, people got to be prepared.
Responsibility there.
Yeah, no, there's a responsibility to do a couple of things. One, make sure people are prepared. And two, not send them into panic. So that was a weird balancing act because that was if there was
people needed to panic.
People kind of needed to panic. Yeah, but you don't want to cause chaos.
And you're like prepare, but how do I tell them prepare? Toilet paper.
Yeah,
buy toilet paper.
Because
No, that wasn't me. I just said, hey, you're gonna have to hunker down for a bit, and everyone thought to themselves, toilet paper. Get it all off the shelves.
Butt wiping.
So for those who maybe aren't relating here, we had like a 6-day
Snowmageddon, all the Mageddons.
It kept rolling
And no
between
electricity.
ice and snow. So many people with no electricity, and of course, so many people with no water.
Yeah.
We were all just. I mean, it really did.
Got primal
feel
there for a minute.
It got primal. That is a good word.
It got primal.
It
Everyone
was
for themselves,
crazy.
like city services shut down. So I keep forgetting, and thank you for clarifying that this is not an Austin podcast. This is a national, international podcast. Yeah. So the context there is important. Weather disasters strike here pretty often.
So in that realm, right? How does it feel to be wrong so often?
I'm going to check my camera real quick. He's going to take a swing.
No, I mean,
I'm going to leave.
no, you're not, because it's part of your job, and that's what everybody says is, oh, you can be a meteorologist because you can say whatever you want and it doesn't matter. You still keep your job, but like. Obviously,
it's the joke of all jokes.
Right.
Yes.
So like,
you still get paid.
The
Blah, 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 blah.
weatherman joke.
Hardy har har. So yeah, and I think we talked about this last time too. Sometimes I can be wrong. Sometimes I am wrong. I will be wrong again in the future. The question is, how do you handle being wrong? And in my industry, it's good to know why you were wrong after the fact. Hindsight's always 20/20.
That's another type of post that you do that I appreciate.
Yeah. And those are pretty few and far between, but every once in a while, like, we'll mess it up. I think I had one relatively recently.
Yeah,
where,
I remember that one.
I forget exactly.
But you did write like a 5-paragraph thing of, this is why I was wrong.
Oh,
this is what I was
remember.
looking at. And this is what happened instead.
It was an
crazy.
overnight storm that just caught everyone off guard in June. And I was like, so that was a little rowdy last night. Here's why we didn't have any idea this was coming. And so, it was like a 5-paragraph thing. Here's the setup. Here's why this happened. Here's why we didn't think it was going to happen that way. And people like that.
Yeah,
people really like that.
Because, everyone knows that this is not an exact science. Everyone knows that this is somewhat of a guessing game. I hate to say that word because it's not guessing. It's educated guessing.
Elevated guessing. Totally different.
Yes.
I have
totally
a degree.
different.
Guessing with a bachelor's of science degree. So it helps people to know that this is, there's so many different variables at play, and to know that, we're not always going to get it right, but there's good reason why we get it wrong sometimes.
Sure.
But right now,
it's so easy. It's the easiest for it. It's going to be, you're going to have some clouds in the morning, enjoy the shade, because after that, you're going to fry.
Yeah.
I say that every single morning. I have to fill every half hour 4.5 minutes of the content on It's Hot Again Today.
Do you ever just feel like, I can't do this again today? Or I can't think of any way to say this other than exactly what I said.
It's like,
before.
how many different ways can you say the word hot?
Right,
and there's thankfully thesauruses out there that
Muy caliente.
I consult my thesaurus every now and then. But my job is harder when the weather's this quiet because I have to figure out how to remain useful.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you can just look at your phone and say, oh, it's going to be 107 again today. Right. Yikes. Okay, I'm not going to watch the news. I don't need to. So I try to find a way to be entertaining.
Sure.
And to
I'll
find...
it.
You should just stand in front of the camera tomorrow for 4 minutes and just scream and cry. Just for 4 minutes straight.
I'm just gonna. I immediately got a great image in my head of me turning my mic off and just pacing back and forth in front of the 7-day forecast and just kicking rocks.
Yeah,
and just,
there you go.
Cursing at the sky. Come on, again, triple digits. What?
You need to throw a toddler style tantrum.
Yeah, on the floor, kicking and screaming. There's so many options.
And then you do another segment where you demonstrate Lindsay's way of dealing with the heat.
Which was
Water hose.
But
don't get naked. That'd be weird.
Yeah, no.
I'm gonna make a mess in our brand new studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, just bring a garden hose inside.
Kiddie pool.
You have 2 Emmys. I'm pretty sure you can do whatever
Does that
you want.
give me tenure?
Yes.
Does it?
Soak the studio.
They can't fire me. Fire this. No, they can still fire me easily.
Yeah.
I'm always towing the line too on social media. My boss is like, "Hey, you got to delete that tweet," and I'm like, "Oh, you're probably right."
How many tweets have
I
you
do
had to
that
delete?
too. And then she's like,
Every once in a while,
It's the comment section.
To my boss's credit, Rob, if you're watching, I appreciate you and
Please
your
watch, Rob.
guidance.
Rob. Hey, Rob.
Rob.
Hi, Rob.
Rob Cartwright. He's our news director. Sometimes I will post what I think is funny, but like in the context of the greater worldview of what's going on in the world, there are reasons why I should not have tweeted that. So he's like, "Hey, can you delete that?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're probably right."
Yeah.
But that happens fewer as I get older.
Yeah.
As I mature, if you will.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm always towing the line. Always on the cusp of penalty. On the cusp.
Oh man, cool. So, any other questions before we send him home?
I feel like we've talked very little about RVing, which I feel guilty about.
I do have an RV question.
Okay, good.
I mean,
Is this the one from earlier that you remembered?
Oh hell, I don't know.
that
sounds like a lot of work to figure
floating
that
in
out.
the ether somewhere.
This is
With the snow
just,
up there.
Yeah, 10,000 feet.
Such a maniac.
Hit me, PJ.
All right, so
Shut.
I want to plan a trip, right? And I want to.
Not true. Richard does.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Someone's planning a trip, right?
That you are
want
going to
go
partake in.
somewhere,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to figure out the weather, trying to see what it can be like. The only thing I know to do is I Google on my phone, what's the weather like in June in the Ozarks?
Is that where you're going?
No, but
Okay.
just as an
Yes.
example, okay?
Okay.
Yes, someday I will be there. So I Google that to kind of see what it's like.
Right.
But when people are traveling, they kind of want to know what's in front of them, where they are. There's weather alert things you can buy that will tell you if there's like a
NOAA
tornado
radios.
nearby.
Weather radios, yeah.
But how do you travel and kind of get a good local forecast somewhere else without trying to see the news? I mean,
I have to
there has to be a way to do that.
I got to advocate for colleagues in this industry. Know where you're going. Look up the local news station in that area, any of them. Follow one of the local meteorologists, because there's no one that is going to know the weather better in that little area they're going into than a local meteorologist.
So like AccuWeather,
No.
whatever, those places aren't going to give you.
I mean, you can get an idea, but a weather app, basically any weather app, is going to take all the information that they can possibly get its hand on and average it all out and spit out some numbers for you.
Right.
All of those different pieces of information averaged together is probably not the best forecast. For example, oftentimes in the winter for us, there'll be a shallow cold front that comes through, and we're trying to figure out how cold it's going to be behind it. Is it going to be cold enough to get their ice on the road, and are people going to crash their cars? Most recently, I think it was winter of last year, there was a shallow cold front that came through, and there were, 9 out of 10 computer models said, we're going to be above freezing. Not going to be a big deal. But there's that one computer model that handles these situations the best that said, no, we're not going to get above 32 degrees. And there's going to be some drizzle. There's going to be some ice on the roads. And so as someone that has lived here and breathed here and worked here for so long, I know that one's probably going to be the one that wins. And so I'm telling people, hey, tomorrow morning, maybe stay home because it's going to be a mess out there. And it was. But if you listen to your weather app, and this was true for the most recent ice storm this late January into February. If you just listen to your weather app that's averaging everything together, you're going to get a bad forecast. Plain and simple. The weather apps are useful for times like this, where it's just hot and dry on repeat.
Right.
But when there's something impactful that's possible in the forecast,
Or you're going someplace you don't know.
garbage,
Yeah.
hot garbage, especially if you don't know the weather and how it usually is in that new place that you're visiting. So follow and pay attention to someone who does. Local meteorologist, someone that's been there for a while, is going to know that information better than any weather app will.
Okay, so in that situation, the scenario that you just laid out, did all of the local meteorologists have the same take that you did on what was going to happen on that ice morning?
My mama always said, if you don't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
So what you're saying
He
is...
has 2 Emmys.
I know. So if he's saying choose a local meteorologist, I don't know. There's more than one here in
Right.
Austin.
In that case, you're not going to know who's the right one to follow. But
you're more likely.
even the worst meteorologist in a local market is better than a weather app. I will stand by that opinion.
Okay.
Wow, interesting to know.
I will stand by
You
it.
heard it here first, second, or third. I don't hear it here.
So wherever your trip is that you're planning, follow any local meteorologist.
So,
Look up who has an Emmy and follow them.
You might be hit or miss there. The Emmy isn't the end all be all. I'm happy to have them, but it's not necessarily a reflection of my accuracy.
okay, so speaking of extreme weather or big things that just pop up, is there a piece of gear that if you're traveling you need to carry with you?
Umbrella.
So the bummer with there's very few bummers. That's a good one. Umbrella's necessary.
Thank you.
There's very few bummers, I think, with RVing. It's awesome, and I wish I could do it. I wish I had the time and the lifestyle that would support it. But you're often going in places where there's not good connectivity to the world, internet, cell service, what have you. So in that case, you can oftentimes be in the dark if you're just out in the wilderness, you're camping, and you have no idea what's coming. So in that case, radio, huge. I'm sure every RVer or every RV is going to come with some sort of emergency radio, right?
No.
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 That's not a thing.
But is it general? Is in general, if I ran into a random RVer, what are the odds that random guy is going to have an emergency radio?
I do. Do you? Neither.
I
you?
don't.
Yes, I'm
I'm going to get one today. Right now, I'm going to get one.
That's why I'm asking.
Amazon
It is
Prime Day.
Amazon Prime Day today.
Yeah.
So what do people go
A weather
online and
radio.
order?
Especially one of those hand crank ones that you can power it up.
Weather radio.
Yeah.
And you can get some that are hand crank like that.
Or solar, you name it.
Because
Absolutely.
even in absence of cellular coverage, wherever you may be, that radio signal is probably going to get you, and you will be alerted in the middle of the night, if necessary, whether or not there's weather coming your way that you need to pay attention to.
I can't believe you two. You two play so dangerous.
We could take a poll of everybody who comes in here,
I
and I
know.
bet 99%
I know.
don't have a weather radio.
Which is a big old bummer.
That is 100%
Yeah.
correct, and yet it's always been part of my camping kit.
How many RV dealerships sell weather radios?
We do
y'all?
now.
No. Oh, good. No, we don't.
As of tomorrow.
No. But I mean, honestly,
hear.
so that I think that's a very, very legit
Honestly,
question. What do you need to have? A weather radio.
I feel like that would be kind of something that would fly off the shelves. I feel like it should go with every
Safety.
RV.
Avery is
Are
disgusted.
they expensive?
A little bit.
No,
there's like
no.
$30 for like the official NOAA weather radio, which for some people can be a little pricey of like a daily purchase. But you can get cheaper ones that aren't official NOAA weather radios that you can still get the same relevant information on.
Is NOAA better?
No,
So
it's all the
so
same.
Amazon
You're still
Prime, any weather radio.
look up a weather radio on
Yep.
Amazon Prime, get one with high reviews,
Yep.
and you're set.
Yep.
It's a good start.
And there, oftentimes it's a NOAA radio plus a flashlight or what have you. So it's kind of pulls double duty.
Yeah.
Plus
Stay-
a flashlight.
I do have
I
a
do
crank
have those.
flashlight.
That's good.
Yep.
It just doesn't tell me the weather.
And no alerts.
It just lights things up so I can see the weather
Oh, perfect.
that is outside.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
That's better than nothing. Yeah, you're above average, I think.
Well, I think we got 3 very small pieces of information for our viewers in this
Yeah.
podcast. I am very proud of you guys.
I think that's better than last time.
I am very proud of you
And
guys.
this is your second time here and your third time here. We might actually convince you of a way to actually go try an RV somewhere. This is a goal.
Okay. And then I will ask you, how the heck do I accomplish that with a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old if we're doing this every 2-year tradition?
I've done a
That's what
podcast
we
on
do.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've camped with my kids since they were babies. It's really fun.
Okay.
Honestly, if you just prep a few things beforehand and understand what you're getting into, oh man, it's real fun because they have.
Because I went camping as a
It's a whole
kid,
new
but
world.
I think I wasn't until I was like north of 5 years old.
Okay, so
They're actually less crazy because everything is new. You know.
Yeah.
yo, I have an idea.
Go on.
We have rallies coming up, and if we give him enough heads up, he could come to the rally. And our rallies are scheduled right in the time frame of certain solar eclipse events.
And in Bandera, right where you can
Are
see
y'all all hyped up for the 2024 eclipse?
it. Totally hyped.
Because I've been for like the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It's coming. I'm thrilled because I don't have to travel to go see it. It's coming right through here
Yeah.
and through much of the country, of course. Anyone who knows anything about eclipses knows where it's going
Yeah.
in 2024.
And
Right.
our campsites for our rally is in the zone of totality.
In Texas, Southwest Texas?
Bandera,
Bandera.
Texas.
Okay, so that's one of the first spots to see it. Not the first. You'd have to go all the way down to the Rio Grande. But
Yeah.
One.
that's awesome.
So
Yeah, you should. Yes.
Oh, I'm going to start praying for a clear sky.
Yeah.
God, can you
Yeah, yeah,
imagine?
yeah.
Yes, please. Would
I'm going
you
to get
just make that
eviscerated if
happen?
there's 3 clouds in the sky.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it will be your fault.
It's great to be in the RV business because hotels have already sold out.
And most RV
Campsites
parks
have sold out.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
But we have some.
Oh yeah, check out our TexasTinyTrailerRally.com for registration for next spring. The rally is actually the weekend after the eclipse, but
But-
the park is holding spots for us. So if you want to go to the rally, you get a discounted rate if you want to stay a few days before to see the solar eclipse. That sounded really confusing, but it's all explained on
Just
the page.
go on the internet.
That's right.
Yeah.
Go to the website.
Internet it.
And everything else is sold out. I mean, you're not going to find anything else. So if you're a camper, you want to see that total eclipse, you need to call
Skyline Ranch,
Skyline
RV
Ranch,
Park.
RV Park. You prepay for your 4 days, and then hang out a few extra days and come to our rally.
And start praying for clear skies.
Yes, absolutely.
Sacrifice.
Whatever the opposite of seeding the clouds is.
Yeah. I don't even know.
Yeah.
You're going to, we can go down another rabbit hole. We could go into some conspiracy theories if you want, but we're not going to go.
What?
Conspiracy theories about what?
Everyone's got a conspiracy theory about
About
the
the
weather.
eclipse?
HAARP. Weather
What is-
modification. Blah,
What
blah,
are you
blah, blah.
talking
Yeah.
about?
Oh,
No,
don't-
but are there any?
That's my other podcast, y'all.
Okay, but are there any?
That's the tinfoil hat RV Small Talk
Are
podcast.
there conspiracies about the solar eclipse?
Oh, I'm sure. I
Okay.
don't know which ones exist. It's probably the flat earthers that have something to say on the,
Oh yeah,
because that really messes with the whole,
Yeah, the whole sun
theory,
thing.
the whole flat disc.
yeah. Oh,
That's out of whack.
Wow. I don't know what to say.
We just opened up a whole bag of worms as we're trying to end this thing.
are we trying to end it?
Are we?
We never want to.
I have all the time in the world, friends.
No, you don't.
This
You
will be
have
a 6-hour
2-year-old.
episode. Well, the 2-year-old's at daycare until 4:30.
Oh man.
Wow.
So we got 5 hours. What do you want to do?
Let's order a pizza.
Oh yeah. Some more black coffee.
Okay. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the RV Small Talk Podcast, this time with Avery Tomasco, CBS Austin. If you want to check him out on social medias, just look him up, meteorologist Avery Tomasco. You will learn a lot. You will get a great take on the weather around here, but you also get some scientific background on it.
And some giggles.
And you may laugh a little.
You may laugh a little, so it's a multi-pronged adventure. And Avery, thank you for joining us again.
It's an absolute pleasure.
I don't know how you whittle out time in the middle of the day every time. For
It's
us.
worth it. It is worth it every single time, and I'm happy to do it again in 2 years because
Oh, okay. Yeah.
we have to wait 2 years.
seems to
You
be the
have to
tradition.
recover.
And we
That's
have to get a
recovery.
bigger room.
If you ask me in 2024, I'm saying no,
We'll come
but
back.
we can book something for 2025.
Okay.
Okay.
There it is. Okay. RVSmallTalk.com for show notes and RV Small Talk podcast on any social media or YouTube. To find us, leave us a review. Rate and review on Apple Podcasts. You don't even have to listen to us on Apple Podcasts. Just go to applepodcasts.com, look up the podcast, and rate and review. Leave us some comments. We learn a lot. And there it is. So, everybody, until the next episode, bye.
Ciao.
Bye.